Hello, welcome back. My name is Patrick Ensmenger, and today I'll be talking about the statistics when I was applying to PA school, as well as what schools I applied to and which ones I got into. The first thing that I want to talk about is what I graduated with, what I went to school with. Everyone applying to a PA school needs to have a bachelor's degree of some sort, and I got mine in BA in biology with a concentration in biomedical studies. With this BA in biology, I was able to take classes like human anatomy, human physiology, biochemistry, organic chemistry, gen ed chemistry, microbiology, and all these other classes. I think it's the most direct route of going across meeting all these requirements. I also think it just provides more opportunities such as research that is going to make your application better if you're seriously going to PA school. So I applied to PA school when I was at the age of 21. I was a junior in college and I decided that I wanted to be a PA back in high school. So I applied very early compared to other people. I believe the average age of an accepted PA student is around 25 to 26 years old. So I am considered very young. However, I believe that this attitude of being on a track of PA since high school provided me with the opportunity to make a very stacked, as some people would say, application with high amounts of experience, and I had the right things that schools were looking for, and I went out of my way to do that. The first of this is being experience. Experience comes in a few different factors. The first one that everyone thinks is primary care experience. This includes things like being an EMT, which I did, being a nurse, or just any other mode of healthcare that you have direct responsibility for a patient's outcome. I did mine by getting EMT license in high school, and then I began working as a medical director at day camps during the summer as I was not able to work outside of the state while I was in college, gaining 1,100 hours about. Outside of direct patient care experience, I got shadowing experience as well as volunteer experience. This volunteer experience was healthcare related, where I volunteered in an emergency department at Temple University Hospital, where I was stocking carts, doing whatever the physicians needed and nurses needed, and just being an extra helping hand in the emergency department. I got about 80 hours of volunteer work for working about 2 semesters there. I would go early in the morning around 5 a.m. and just work as much as I needed or they needed me to do that day. Non-healthcare related hours, however, I have a lot more where I actually started a youth ministry group at my church. I would volunteer with them. I actually played collegiate lacrosse where we did volunteering work around there. And I just did things around the community and around my college that, counts as volunteer work, such as food drives and things like that. When it came to shadowing experience, I actually shadowed one podiatrist. I didn't shadow a physician's assistant like many people do, or many schools recommend actually. I got only 35 hours, which is considered somewhat low, only in one specialty of podiatry. With other experiences that are not healthcare, like my EMT job or my volunteering at hospitals, I just put in my regular jobs that I did on the normal, such as being a server, such as being an NCAA Division III athlete. I also put in things such as being inducted into Tri Beta, which is the Biology Honor Society, working around school in the honors program, as well as just things I did outside of school. Anything that you put on a regular resume, you should also put in your CASPer. Don't think it's not important enough to include. No matter what it is, make sure you include it on your CASPer application. When it came to my GPA, this is where I knew I could strive beyond other people. When I was looking at schools, I found that the average accepted GPA is around a 3.75, a 3.7 or so, which is considered very high. That's in the A range. But I knew that being such a young applicant with low experience compared to other people, I would have to up my GPA in order to show that I'm academically eligible and academically competitive to compete for their PA program. So I ended up working really, really hard in order to get an overall GPA of a 3.86, as well as a science GPA of a 3.8. And that includes my general chemistry, where I got an A in both Gen Chem 101 and Gen Chem 102, and I got a B in organic chemistry. Organic chemistry was really difficult, as many of you know, and it's okay to do bad in one course or not as well as you'd like in one course. When I came to standardized testing, I hate standardized testing, I'll be honest with you right now. But I studied really hard for a few weeks and a month. I took the GRE twice, taking many practice exams before, and I ended up getting a total of a 314, which is considered very good. I got a 156 on the verbal section, a 158 on the quantitative section, and a 4.0 on the writing section. On top of taking the GRE, I also took the CASPer exam, which is becoming more prevalent in the PA program application process. The CASPer exam, as I described in my previous videos, is just an exam meant to determine your social awareness and moral attitude in healthcare. It provides you a bunch of situations that you have to answer questions to very fast, and from this, they put you in percentiles. When you get your grade, actually, it goes to the university or program that you're applying to first. You do not get to decide whether you get to send or not. It gets sent automatically. They get your exact percentile a week before you get your grades. And when you get your grade, it actually only comes within a 25 percentile range. So you'll either be put into 0 to 25 percentile, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, or 75 to 100. So I was placed into the 50 to 75 percentile range. This means that I could either be a 51st percentile, a 60th percentile, even a 74th percentile. So I honestly have no idea how well I did on that, but I'm happy with the 50 to 75th percentile. I believe this showed that my moral and social awareness is what they're looking for and compatible with many programs, and it doesn't lack, is basically. One of the things that I believe that set me apart from many other people is that I conducted research, actually. In my junior year of being a biology major, I was approached from my professor asking if I wanted to take part in her lab in order to conduct independent research with her. It included research on environmental toxicology of BPA, in which we used Drosophila or fruit flies in order to determine metabolisms such as fat metabolism and glucose metabolism, and just how BPA interacts with that system. So I put in a lot of work, and it's actually what I did my senior thesis on for biology, and I put around 400 hours when I was first applying for the PA program. Over time, I put in more than 400 hours, but this is something that I believe that if you get the opportunity to do, you have to take. It takes a lot of time out of your day, and it's a lot of hard work, but it's really rewarding. I've learned a lot of things and a lot of skills from this, and I'm really happy I did it. Next is one that everyone really worries about, the letters of recommendation. Who should I get a letter of recommendation from? Should it be a physician's assistant? Should it not be? Should it be a professor? Well, I got 4 letters of recommendation. The first was a professor. That was the professor I did research with. She was that biology professor, as well as the head of the department. She wrote a very good recommendation letter for me. She was very personal. I knew her. She knew me very well. So she was able to write something that showed what type of person I am for the program. I also had the podiatrist that I shadowed write me a letter of recommendation. I believe it's very important that if you shadow anyone, you should be able to get a letter of recommendation from them. You shouldn't just shadow someone for 5 hours and call it a day and ask for a letter of recommendation. You should do it for a long period of time. I shadowed this person for about 2 weeks, but I was there every single day basically for 2 weeks while she was there, and she got to know me very well, and she was able to understand and write me a proper letter of recommendation that could be strong for my application. My third letter of recommendation was actually from my boss at one of my medical director jobs. I worked with him for 2 years. He knew what type of worker I was. He knew what type of healthcare I could provide to the patients, and he was very willing to write a letter of recommendation, and I feel like this showed what type of healthcare provider I am and what type of healthcare provider I'm going to be in the future. And finally, I actually got my 4th letter of recommendation from a county legislator. It's weird how I've got to know him, but his name's Steve Rhodes. I met him when I was working and creating the youth ministry group at my local church. He just happened to be running it, and I knew him for now about 8 to 10 years. It's been so long, and he knows me really well from when I grew up, when I decided to be a physician's assistant. He knows me very well, and he was able to write me a letter of recommendation that was more personal and would show what type of person I am in the community. These 4 letters of recommendation I feel like covered everything I was hoping to do, including academics, professionalism, and just personality. From that leads me into my personal statement. The personal statement is a huge aspect of your application. I worked on my personal statement for about 6 months. I had my parents read it. I had my brothers read it. I had multiple professors read it. And I had some healthcare providers read it. I wrote about my experience as a medical director, specifically with one patient in which I had a very heartbreaking opportunity, as well as previous experiences I had, such as when I first got my EMT license. The day I got it in the mail that said I'm an EMT, I was driving down the road at 11:30 at night and came across a car crashed in a tree. I was the only person there. I had to remove them from the car as well as the passenger because the car was on fire, get them to the safe place, call 911, And it was a very surreal moment, which I was excited to do and be there to help someone. And it really just resonated with me in the moment that I was going to become a physician's assistant, and it was what I wanted to do with my life. Moving on to the thing that everyone's excited to get to is, where was I accepted to? So I applied to a few universities. I went to undergraduate at Arcadia University, and I did not fulfill the requirements to be in their direct entry program, as I was short on the GRE score by just a point on the verbal section or something like that. But I did manage to get into Arcadia University. So that was my first university I got into. I got an interview at Midwestern as well as Butler, where I got waitlisted at both Midwestern and Butler, but I got pulled off the waitlist for both of those universities and accepted. And those were 3 universities I got accepted to. I didn't get accepted to any more, but I did get other interviews. I got the opportunity to interview at Stanford, but declined due to the tuition cost. I also got an interview at the University of North Texas Southwestern. I believe that's what it's called. I'm sure it's a long title for a university, but I decided to decline the interview and give it to someone else just because I already knew I was going to go to Arcadia University. I actually got declined from USC. I applied to Baylor and got declined. I applied to Hofstra and got declined, and as well as I applied to NYIT and got declined. So in total, I got declined from 4 schools, I got interviews at 2, and I got accepted to 3 universities with those statistics at the age of 21. Thank you for watching. I hope that I can answer any of your questions in the comments below. So leave a comment and make sure you subscribe. Thank you.